How's it going, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And to my right, I have Nandor Shaffer. How are you, man?
Hey, Omar. Oh man, I am doing so well. I am like equally nervous and equally excited right now.
We've
But
done
how?
this before. You,
Yeah,
we did
well,
this many years ago.
yeah, we did. We did. It's been a minute, and I'm kicking myself because weren't you at C2E2 this past
I was
year?
a C2E2 this past
Yeah,
year.
and
Yeah,
and
panel.
I didn't know that, and that was my first C2E2, and I was like, I kicked myself because I was like, oh, I should have met you, you know. But we'll
That would
have
have
to
been nice, man.
we'll have to do that. Yeah,
Next time. So,
next time.
dude, how have you been? We haven't talked. I mean, we keep up through social media, but
Yeah.
we haven't talked since 2019. I think it was the last time when you were here, and
Goodness.
you were
Wow.
kickstarting your book then, which is what you'll be doing later on today. So, how have you been? How's life? What's new?
Yeah, life's been good. I've been really on the grind when it comes to still making comics. I just released my sixth book, The Fabled Offering,
Hmm.
and I just finished fulfilling that and sending it to all the backers and everything. So that's really exciting. But I'm still in Missouri, and I grew up in Missouri, so I'm still here. And I did get a new job recently that has been good, and I'm keeping up with all of the comics and trying to stay positive in the community. And I've just been kind of working away and doing my best to get my stuff out there as much as I can. And I've met so many amazing people over the last couple of years. And I love your channel, and I love a lot of people's channels and everyone that I've been able to meet. And I've been dipping my toes in the YouTube space. I kind of have like these
Really, what
binges.
have you been doing?
Yeah, well, so I have my own YouTube channel called Foxhole Comics, and I've been doing some video essays on, like topics in the comic book industry, or topics that I think are interesting when it comes to storytelling and things like that. Or if there's a particular comic that grabs me, or it has a particular theme that I want to kind of unpack for audiences and think about. And they're more. It's been interesting. I've been trying to find what I can offer people, and what I can do to, I guess, stay more relevant and be more of a voice in the community. And so that's I've been going through growing pains when it comes to the YouTube space. But I'm trying. There's a lot of interesting advice that I've gotten, and I've tried to talk to as many people as possible about what content creation is like, and how you kind of balance that with work and other stuff that I'm doing. So it's been a ride, but it's been a lot of fun too. It's just a lot of work.
And how you're keeping up with comics these days while creating your own books
Yeah.
and running a YouTube channel. So what have you learned in the 5 years since we talked? What have you learned? What is it that you're doing differently now than you did back then? And
Yeah.
uh,
Well, I'm
by the way, if you
yeah.
haven't had a chance for people watching to read Seasons, it is such a great book. I love that book. It became one of my. I actually, I talked to you about it
Yeah.
many years ago, and then to remind people that it was still out there, I do a hidden gem segment every month, or try to every month, and it was one of my hidden gems this year. And it's a wonderful story. So how is it that you're doing this differently than you did in 2019?
Yeah, well, and thank you for doing that video about Seasons. I actually, I've been, I think at the time I had sent you a message, thanking you, but you'll have no idea how many orders I got after you put that out there, that it was one of your
Oh,
hidden
good.
gems. I was like looking at my email. I got all these notifications for all these people that had, bought the book, and I was like, Omar, thank you so much. So,
You're so
um,
welcome. That's the point
yeah,
of
it
doing things
was
like
it was so cool because at first I was like, why? Like it was random, you know. And then I saw your video and I was like, it all clicks. It all makes sense now. But you know, I've gotten a lot more in the years since then. And I did come out with volume 2 of Seasons. So that's out there, and we're working on volume 3 right now. So that's in the pipeline. But since we last spoke, you know, I've really gotten a lot more comfortable, I guess, voicing my opinion, you know, being more a part of the community, and being able to be more comfortable doing interviews and talking with people and talking about, you know, different ideas I have about the comic book community, and just about making comics. And I've done a lot more research in the art and craft of writing comics and making comics, and trying to, I guess, broaden my network. You know, it's all about kind of getting to know people in the community and doing your best to you know, put yourself out there, and being more comfortable with that. You know, I think as writers, as artists, we're very introverted, and we like kind of being in our own space, and we like being able to you know, share our work, but then kind of hide away, you know, afterwards. And it's really different being an indie creator and having to you know, be present, and put your face out there, put your work out there, because not only is it a very like saturated place, sometimes oversaturated, where you're trying to stand out, but you also, you know, you want everyone to do well in the space. And so you kind of have to balance that at the same time, because you're like, you know, again, kind of getting back to the YouTube space too, in comics, it's kind of the same thing, where it's like, what do I have to offer that other people are not getting? And, you know, whether it's a story or an idea, you know, in terms of like making YouTube content and making comics, in a lot of ways, it's just another form of storytelling. You know, you're editing things, you're trying to create a consistent narrative, you're trying to, you know, have a punch beginning and a great ending to a video, and all that kind of stuff. But you know, since then, I've been able to, my first published work is going to be coming out by the Art Spiegel Fine Arts, in Scott Morse's This Ink Runs Cold anthology. I think it'll be releasing next year. So that's really exciting. And like people like Brian Michael Bendis and Bill Sienkiewicz are going to be in that book too. And like the showrunner of House of the Dragon is going to have a story in that book. So like my name is going to be with all these other great creators in this anthology. And that's been really exciting. And, you know, more and more I've been thinking about doing more conventions. You know, I still do a lot of like author signings around my local area, and conventions around my local area, but I'm trying to learn how to branch out more, and how to be more present and more vocal in the community is something that I feel like I've gotten a lot better at, and I've been able to balance the work-life balance a lot better since then. So yeah, you know, it's been, in a lot of ways, like a lot of things haven't changed in terms of, I guess, like, I don't know, like anything like big changes, but there's been a lot of incremental changes where I can finally start to see the fruits of my labor. You know, the more you put into the work, and you're kind of playing the long-term game, it's not all about the expedient rewards that you receive. It's what happens, you know, later on. And that's something that I've had to learn patience. I've had to learn how to be patient when it comes to making comics, because it's not easy. It's you know, and it is the long game. It's a marathon run.
So I have to ask, what
Yeah.
comics are you keeping up with?
Oh,
What
right.
comics are you
Yeah.
keeping up with that you're like, man, that's good? And
Oh, yeah,
I wish
dude.
I had thought of that. Like, what are you enjoying these days?
Man, so I gotta say, you know, I've been keeping up with all of Marvel's Ultimate line. I'm really enjoying Hickman on Ultimate Spider-Man. That's been such a great book. And I'm really enjoying Denise Camp's, you know, Ultimates as well. Those are the two like standouts.
I have been hearing about Ultimates on
Yeah.
and since I have to wait for the trade, I'm like, nobody spoil what happened. And they're like,
Right.
dude, you got to read it weekly. And my wife actually has been picking up. She picked up the first couple of issues of Ultimate Black Panther, and I read the first 4. Ultimate Spider-Man has been phenomenal. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of slowed down a little bit because it happens, right? It's part of the comic. So
Right.
building up for something big. And then of course, she picked up Ultimate X-Men. I read the first issue and I'm like, I'll wait for the trade to see what's going on here.
Yeah.
But Ultimates is the one she just picked up the first 2 issues, and I think everybody's like talking about issue 3 or maybe 4, and I'm like, I don't care what happens. Nobody tell me what happens. I'll wait for the trade paperback.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's been really exciting because, you know, at first when they were relaunching it, I mean, I've always loved Hickman stuff, but it's it had a different flavor to it, you know, than the original Ultimate stuff that came out in the early 2000s. And, you know, that stuff was very I don't know, like angsty early 2000s kind of interpretations of the characters. And, you know, this is a lot more it's really a fascinating like premise because of dealing with heroes who like Spider-Man in particular, who always felt like he was supposed to be a hero, but he never was, or there was something that was missing in his life and he becomes a hero. And that's such an interesting idea. And because and I actually did a YouTube video about this, and it's like I think I called it Marvel's Ultimate Answer to Tragedy, and it was like this idea that I have where in this new Ultimate universe, the idea of tragedy, it's more about destiny than something tragic happening to you. You know, like this version of Peter Parker, he didn't lose his Uncle Ben, you know, and that's really fascinating. And he didn't have that like seismic event happen in his life where he becomes Spider-Man, but he wants to become Spider-Man because he feels like something's missing, you know, and it's like very the universe feels self-aware enough for the reader so that you're like, yeah, man, like become Spider-Man. Like we want to see you do this. We want to see you become a hero. And I think that self-awareness is really great for audiences of today or readers who have been following comics for such a long time, because I feel like Hickman and company are telling readers, we know what your response is going to be like to this. And whoa, there we are.
You're good.
Good deal.
So what's going on with my my main computer? But you go on.
You're good. No,
I had my backup laptop here just in case. Because
but yeah, so yeah, other than the Ultimate stuff, I really enjoyed Tom King's Penguin series that just wrapped up from DC. It was a 12-issue maxi series, and you know, I think every writer should take note of how that series was written, and because every issue mostly is from the perspective of different characters within the story, and you get in their head. And so like with every issue, you're like, okay, what's happening in this you know, coherent story where you're following Penguin and his kind of his escapade to take over Gotham again. You never get in his head. You're always seeing like other people's opinions of Penguin and other people's perspective of Penguin. And so like that was just really fascinating for me, like from a technical level as a writer, seeing how Tom King was able to structure that, because I feel like that would be really complex, because he's not just sticking to one perspective. He's looking at all these different characters that surround Penguin, that Penguin has relationships with, and you get to see how they see Penguin rather than it just being from Penguin's POV, which I think is a really great way to kind of give you this kaleidoscopic like vision or narrative, to where you get to see how he's able to what his effects are on different people around him, and how they perceive him, and if they love him, hate him, want to betray him, all that kind of stuff. But you know, the art was fantastic too, and it just really surprised me, because Penguin as a character has never been very compelling to me, but this 12-issue series showed me why he what his function is within Gotham City and what his relationship is to Batman, because King does this really interesting kind of twist to his character to where Batman and Penguin's relationship, like there's a reason why Batman hasn't locked up Penguin. And that's a really cool idea, because you're like, why are all these, villains in Gotham always able to kind of run around and do things, even though they put them in Arkham, but then they come out, all that kind of stuff. And Tom King does a really good job at making sense of that for Penguin's character. So that was really a highlight for me this year.
Well,
when it comes to,
it's good to hear you and still enjoy the the big two, Marvel and DC. I think sometimes people are like, oh, I'm done with superheroes. So it's really nice to hear that you're still reading the characters that have been around for 60 plus years. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They've been around 80, a while.
80 plus years in some cases. But that's really interesting to hear you say that, especially when you're creating your own books, because I figured someone like you would be like, yeah, I used to read Marvel and DC, but since I started creating my own comics, I moved on to more like the indie scene, because I know you also read a lot of independent comics as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. Like I just read, to mention Tom King again, but I read his Animal Pound from Boom Studios, and that was a really dark story. But I've never read a comic that deals with the primary characters are cats, dogs, and rabbits. Like, how does that work in a comic? Like, how would you do that? And so, like, that was really good from Boom. But I've never stopped reading Marvel and DC. I will say I don't read as much as I used to, and I'm just at the. I'm like an old Gen Zer, I guess you could say. What in terms of in terms of the cutoff, yeah. And I had to verify that for myself. I think the cutoff is 1997, and that's when I was born. And as a young guy, like, I still really like Marvel and DC. And I grew up during when Ed Brubaker was on Captain America and Matt Fraction was on Iron Man, and Hickman was on Fantastic Four, and that was like such a one of the most exciting times of my life reading comics. And I feel like there's a lot of people feel that way when they're getting into comics, but even looking back, I think objectively, if you look at that stretch of time between 2000 to like 2014, 2015, some really amazing stuff. It's like stuff that the MCU is made of. When we think of the MCU, it's like all that stuff was happening in those formative years for me. So, but no, like there's honestly so much out there that I cannot keep up with that I wish I could, keep up with. And the more I'm looking at my pull list, the more I'm like, goodness gracious, like this is just kind of getting out of hand right now. And then with the Absolute line coming out, in a matter of weeks from DC, goodness, like that's going to be something else too. I think they're going to make a really big splash with Absolute Batman. No kidding.
So now that we've talked about what you've been up to, what you've learned, and what you're reading, what's new for you? What's going on in this?
Yeah. So this is a really big day for me, and it's a part of the reason why I'm nervous and excited is because we're going to be launching Manchild issue 3 on Kickstarter during the stream right now, probably in a matter of minutes. And so, like I said a few minutes ago, I just finished writing and putting out the Fabled Offering, and that was my latest sci-fi fantasy story. It was the first time I ever kind of dabbled, worked in that genre. And I've been getting a lot of great feedback from a lot of customers and people who have read that book. And I need to send you a copy of it. But there's been so many people who have really enjoyed that. A handful of people have told me it's my best work yet. And so that's been really encouraging to make a new story and to dive into an entirely new genre and have it resonate with people. So that's really exciting. But we're really here, today to talk about Manchild, and it's been on a bit of a small hiatus from issues 2 to 3. We came out with the first 2 issues, and now we're launching issue 3 today. And This is the most exciting issue yet. I'm so excited to talk about it with you. And let's launch it. How about we launch the campaign and we can kind of talk about it and go over it?
Yeah, I can share. You want to launch it now?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'll launch it now.
Okay. I will share the link in the chat right now, and then I will put it in the description of the video afterwards when the video is done. People can go back and check it out. But here it is in the chat right now. If you want to go and check it out, this is for Manchild.
Let's
the
see
third
here.
issue. How is it that
All right, it's live. It's live.
Is it live? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah.
So tell me about this. Like, what's going on with the characters? What's going on without going into, of course, spoilers?
Yeah. Yeah. So the reason why this issue is so super exciting for me and why I can't wait to talk about it with you is one, I mentioned Ed Brubaker's Captain America run. That was like so formative for me. I loved that series so much. And it wasn't just Ed Brubaker; it was Steve Epting. Steve Epting is my favorite artist of all time. Like, there's no, hands down, there's no one who compares to him for me. And this was the first time, and who knows? I hope it's not the last time. But I got to work with him on issue 3 of Manchild. He is doing a cover for it. So that is available during the campaign for people to pick up. And that's just a dream come true for me because, I've been able to rub shoulders with some pros in the industry, and I've been able to work with some amazing people, especially in the Manchild series. But Steve Epting is like, the king of the mountain, the cream of the crop for me. And being able to work with him on this particular issue right now, it's just like, I'm still trying to get over it, and I don't know if I ever will get over it because it's so exciting for me. And, as a fan of his work for years, the co-creator of The Winter Soldier, being able to work with someone like that, and for someone to take the time out of their day and their busy schedule to work with me, who, I'm not like out there making a lot of big waves or anything like that. So he was very generous and really kind to want to work with me. And, he said he really loved the character, and he loved the cover idea and all that kind of stuff. So that's available right now during the Kickstarter. But with issue 3, what's so great about this issue is that we're introducing 6 new villains. We're expanding Monarch Cryer's Rogues Gallery in this issue, and we're calling them the Sadistic Six. So, if you're a fan of Sinister Six and that idea, yeah. So, they all, have different personalities, different power sets. And as we enter issue 3 in this installment, the Monarch Crier, in issue 2, he finds out that he is stranded on Professor Pilgrim's island, and he's all alone on this island. And Professor Pilgrim, who is the main antagonist of the book, his arch nemesis, has secluded him, has isolated him on this island. But what Monarch Crier doesn't know is that Professor Pilgrim has also captured all of Monarch Crier's Rogues Gallery to fight him and to face him in this new issue. And he is trying to, basically, he puts out a call to the villains, and he's like, hey, guys, who wants to be the champion of Canaan, which is Professor Pilgrim's island, which is in the Bible, it's the promised land. And so Professor Pilgrim is working on his own, city, his own promised land for his own people, kind of a la to, like a Doctor Doom type villain and character. But in any case, these villains are imprisoned on this island as well. And the only way that they can escape is if they defeat the Monarch Crier. So in this issue, they're having to fight him and battle him out. And at the same time, for people who are not aware of the series, this isn't, you're getting 2 stories in one. So Manchild is an alternating narrative. And while you're reading about the Monarch Crier and his own Silver Age inspired escapades in this alternate reality, basically, you're also reading about Rufus Boston, who is a comic book nerd, just like you and me. And in this issue in particular, he is manning the LCS in his area. He's working on it on a very, very unexpectedly busy day. And he feels very slighted by the owner to have to work on this day all by himself on a new comic book day. And tragedy occurs in his life during this day that he's, overrun by all these customers and having to deal with all these people at his LCS. So you're reading these two narratives simultaneously in the book, and I'm very excited about it. This is the issue for me where I feel like everything starts to click for the reader, and you really get to see, what the heart of the series is about. With it's always interesting. This is my first time doing like a single issue series, and trying to make the cliffhangers matter, because all I've really ever done are graphic novels. And so you really get a meaty, story. You get a beginning, middle, and end, and you get that complete arc for the character. But with Manchild, I wanted to shake it up a bit, and I wanted to do something in the spirit of the floppy, the monthly issues, and do something different. And so trying to keep the momentum up for the series and get people excited about it and get people to come back for more for the next issue has been a challenge for me, just from like a marketing and creative level. But it's been really, really great for me at the same time, because with every issue there's always a new reader. And even if you didn't pick up issues 1 and 2, which you can in the Kickstarter, both of those are available, you can jump into issue 3 and you'll just be like, oh my gosh, like what have I been missing out on? Because there's so much going on and there's a lot of exciting stuff in this issue. So I can't wait for people to check it out, because all the new characters look so cool. Jay and I, the artist for the book, Jay Mazar, we worked really hard on designing these characters and making them look, as Silver Age as possible. Looking at I looked at a lot of classic Kirby designs and Steve Ditko designs and a lot of 60s Marvel stuff to kind of make them feel like they could jump right into those comics if they wanted to. So that's been really exciting for me to kind of do something that I've never done before, and embrace what I love about superheroes and embrace what I love about fandom, while also trying to do a meta commentary on what fandom is like and kind of the joys and pitfalls of being a comic book fan. And that's where Rufus's story comes in.
Who's your collaborator on this?
Yeah, so Jay Mazar, he is the artist for the book. He does the pencils, inks, and colors. He's a one-man army in that regard. And then DC Hopkins is the letterer and designer of the book. And he's done the first 2 issues, and he's doing issue 3 with us. He's kind of a miracle worker sometimes. He's just a very talented designer and letterer. And, he's worked with Boom and Dark Horse and IDW and pretty much every major like publisher. So he's a really great collaborator too with this book. But yeah, it's just us three. Us three are making this book. And, we've been coming out with an issue pretty much every year. We hope to speed that up next year. But yeah, it's been really cool. I mean, we're doing our best work that we've ever done. So I'm really excited about this new issue.
How long do you see the series going?
So it's going to be, I have a finite ending to it. It's going to be a 6-issue series. But there's a lot of things we could do with it if we wanted to. But in terms of like Rufus's story and his arc as a character, issues 1 through 6 is kind of where I see it, and that's where it is now. But Jay and I have talked about like doing like villain one shots for each of these villains, or doing like maybe doing like an annual, like ways that we could kind of build upon the world and do like a lot of exciting things with it. And we'd also love to do like newsprint editions of these issues too, to make them feel like proper 60s 70s comics. But there's a lot of energy, a lot of life in this series. But for now, it's just going to stick to 6 issues as far as I can tell at this moment.
And once it's all said and done, I think we talked about this back in 2019.
Yeah.
Once it's all said and done, maybe some kind of collection for us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, we so bad want to do a trade, and we'd love to do. I mean, heck, it'd be so cool to do like an oversized, trade or something like that. That'd be really sick. But yeah, we'd love to do a collection of all 6 issues. I think by the time we get to that, it will be, because each issue is about 24 to 30 pages, so it'd be a pretty big book by then.
When did the issue with, like, how did you even do this with Steve Epting? Like, how did that come about? I know you said you were a big fan, and
Right.
that's one thing, but also like having Steve Epting do a cover, I think that's really cool. So how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird. Like, I mean, I've really gotten accustomed to being told no, or I'm too busy, or that kind of thing. I've reached out to a lot of different artists over the years, and because there's a lot of people I just love, I absolutely want to work with, and I want to see their interpretation of my characters, because not only like I'm doing this to make a quality product, but I'm also doing this for me because I'm such a fan, and I love these characters, and I love my stories, but I also love their artwork, and just to be able to collaborate in that sense would just be so fulfilling for me and rewarding. But with Steve Epting, I kind of took a shot in the dark. I was like, oh man, like, yeah, this is a pipe dream, but I'm gonna reach out. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to see what he says. Maybe he's too busy. Maybe he'll say no. He has every right to, he, like, what's he doing messing around with someone like me? It's like, so I just, I emailed him, I reached out to him, and I told him about the series, and I sent him the PDFs to the first 2 issues, and, sent him my cover idea and the villain designs for the Sadistic Six, and tried to pitch it to him as best as I could, and I had an inkling that I knew his style and his history with Marvel and DC, and he has, even though he's like somewhat of a modern day artist, we consider him to be, he's done work for the last 30-40 years, with Marvel, and he was on Avengers I think in the 80s or 90s, and he also has done a lot of stuff.
That's how I first saw his art.
Yeah.
With,
so
Bob Harris writing the story. So yeah,
exactly.
And his art style has evolved into something else. I mean, he did X Factor after that, but nowadays his style is so different. His style is, I mean, what it was.
Yeah.
Pages of Ed Brubaker's Captain America. What was the series he did with Ed Brubaker?
Velvet. He did Velvet.
Oh my god, so gorgeous.
I know. With Betty Brightweiser's colors on his work too. So man, it's so good. Yep. So yeah, like, and I totally gushed, over him. Like after we got done working together, I was just like, dude, like, I just have to tell you how much this means to me. Like you just don't, like, you don't know, and he was very gracious and kind about it. And he was, he told me, he said, it's an odd feeling knowing the comics that he worked on have the same effect with comics that he grew up on, with someone like me, being in my generation, and how formative that is and how special that is. And, it's very emotional for me, like, thinking about it and working with him and having this opportunity, because I remember, being a little kid picking up Captain America when I was like 10 or 11 years old, and looking at his art and being like, oh man, like, it'd be so cool to meet this guy. It'd be so cool to like have him draw a Captain America sketch. But then to get to this point when I started making comics and thinking to myself, I could, it'd be so cool to work with him. That'd be a whole other thing. And then, so now we're here, and, I feel like we made it, and it was all worth it, because it's like, I got to the point where I got to work with the guy who really inspired. I mean, I used to draw Captain America in my sketchbook all the time, like in I growing up and making and wanting to make comics and wanting to be an artist. I was obsessed with Bucky as Captain America. That Alex Ross design for his Captain America is just like, yeah, with the gun, and man, it's just like the coolest thing ever. How much
backlash there was on that design.
No way.
I was getting back into comics with towards the end of New X-Men.
Yeah.
And, Astonishing X-Men really brought me back. So I was getting single issues. And then in 2003, I decided to go the route of collected editions. But I would still go to the comic book store to get like Uncanny X-Men all the way up to like issue 500.
Yeah.
And I remember as those issues were coming out, people were so... Technically, it was like the older generation that were like, I can't...
It's always them, right?
He has a gun? They were losing their minds that he had a gun.
Yeah.
And I was like... I was in my 20s and I was like, yeah, man, it was pretty cool though. He's got a gun. It's not Steve Rogers, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And they were like, it doesn't matter. He represents America. He represents this particular, like, dude, they were losing their mind. And
that's crazy.
It's funny how that hasn't changed. I mean, no matter what, people are always going to prejudge things before they're out, no matter what, especially if it's like a oh my gosh, to this day. I
know. Well, and I think it's just maybe at the time, because social media just wasn't so, it wasn't really there, I guess, in the way that it is now. But
2000 was that 2000 and the new design was 2004, maybe 5, something like that. No, I mean, we had maybe MySpace at that time.
Yeah, right. So maybe they were complaining on some forums, at the time or something.
Yes,
but yeah, forums. Where did those go?
Still around.
But yeah, so I mean, yeah, that design to me was like the most iconic thing. For the longest time, Bucky was my Captain America. That's really how I got introduced to the world of Captain America. And I loved his redemption arc. I thought that was a really powerful idea, and to bring a character who had gone through so much and put him in the suit to atone for his sins and be the face of America. I don't know. There's just something to me really powerful about that, and what they were able to do with Bucky, and even, I mean, Civil War and the death of Steve Rogers and that entire story. I mean, it was so impactful for someone like me. And I felt like I was coming in at a time where it was like things were really happening, things were really changing. And the Marvel Universe was, becoming a much more kind of darker and unstable type of place. And these characters were at risk. And, it was so great reading a Captain America book. I mean, this is kind of a testament to Brubaker and Epting's work on the story. It's like Steve Rogers wasn't in that book for like 4 or 5 years maybe, and all of those characters, Sam Wilson, Sharon Carter, Bucky, Nick Fury, all those characters held that book together in such a way that, like I said, I think is a testament to Brubaker's writing and Epting's art, because they were able to make a Captain America book without Steve Rogers and make it really, really good.
And I think a lot of that has been done in the past before, right? Like, it's nothing new. Captain America's been dead. There's been somebody new taking over the Shield.
Right.
I think this was at the peak of the social media, like the beginning of MySpace. I mean, even if you remember, what was it? The whole thing with MySpace and what's her name? What was her name? She was it was in the Frontline comic where Captain America was under arrest, right? And she's like, "You're not American unless you have MySpace." Sally, that was her name, Sally.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god, I hated that character.
Yeah,
I was like, "What? Captain America's not American because he doesn't have MySpace?"
That's
what the
hilarious.
Hell does that even mean?
Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah,
that's funny.
It was so weird to read that, but yeah. So I think a lot of it had to do with because we were getting into that era of MySpace and people just talking to each other, that I think a lot of it was, hey, this is what's going on in Captain America. So to a lot of people, this was like new, right? They're killing Captain America. That's never happened
Yeah.
before, right?
Right.
To anybody that had survived the 90s or even the 80s and the 70s, and Captain America had been dead before. It wasn't like this is something new that they were coming up with, but it was a different time for sure. It was a different time. And I think at the beginning of social media is what made it, just what made it that much more talked about than it probably should have been. It was a big deal. And at that same time, the whole thing with Batman was going on. So
that's right. Batman Rip.
Yep, that was going on. And very similar. Well, I don't want to spoil what happens in those stories, but very similar in a way how those characters ended up coming back.
You're right. Actually, you're right about that. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, so yeah, at this point in working with Steve Epting, I mean, I hope, I mean, the cover is, I mean, is phenomenal. And I don't know if you want to pull up the campaign and look at it or not, or if you see it there, but like, it's an amazing cover. And we also have a lot of different cover options. We're also offering our first ever gatefold cover. So like for fans of like, Jim Lee's X-Men #1, where you could like fold out the cover, we're doing that with Manchild issue 3. So if you like gatefold covers or wraparound covers, that's available too. But man, there's so many cool things about this new issue that I can't wait for people to check out.
Well, I am going to be sharing the screen. You'll have to pardon me because it's going to go full screen.
That's okay.
Make sure I got the right one. Okay, so once I share it, let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Awesome. So I'm going to make this full. Let me make sure that I got the full screen going. There you go. So it's all yours now. Tell me what we're looking at here. This is 6 backers so far.
Yes. Yeah, so we got 6 backers. Yeah, so this is the campaign page for Manchild issue 3, and there is Steve Epting's cover. If you want to scroll down just a little bit more, but that's it. Yep.
Wow, that's so cool, man. You got this guy that you looked up to his work, and now here he is.
Yeah,
cover for you.
I know. It's wild. And so yeah, here we have the Monarch Crier, who's the main superhero character of the story. He's coming at us with Professor Pilgrim in the background. Those are his eyes in the background, his menacing eyes. And then surrounding Monarch, you have the Sadistic Six in silhouette. So it's a very, it's a very exciting, like dire cover. And, as he's surrounded by his villains and, with Monarch jumping out at us. And I think like the contrast of the orange and the green just really, really pops. So it's amazing. I mean, I love this cover. When he sent me the layout and we were kind of going through different ideas of what we could do with it, that was exciting in and of itself. And then when he sent me, the finished cover, I was just like I was, waiting for that email, and just like is today going to be the day? And so when I finally got it and I opened it up and I saw it, I was just like, goodness gracious, like this is real, this is really happening. So
that's so awesome.
I know. And people can get that cover in the first 48 hours. I have an early bird kind of reward tier where you can get it at a discount. So if people are interested in picking it up, if you want it, now's the best time to get it so that you can save a little dough.
Okay. And this is the gatefold.
Yeah. So that's the gatefold cover by Benjamin W. Morse. And those are all the 6 villains there going towards Monarch. So yeah, man, I can't wait for that.
And then this is by Nathan Lorenza, this cover right here.
Yeah. So that one features the Crane and Highness Helen, two members of the Sadistic Six.
Okay. And you have this by Pablo Romero.
Yes. Yeah. So that one, that's Rufus. So, I mentioned Rufus earlier, And this is the kind of the first cover in the series where we really see, the fantasy and reality aspect of the series collide, and like Rufus interacting with one of the characters. We hadn't seen that on any of the other covers before, and I thought, like how cool would it be? How exciting would it be to have him kind of at the mercy of Highness Helen, and you have the monarch butterfly wings, burning in the background. So that's a really fun cover, as Rufus is kind of like, oh gosh, like he's not going to be able to survive this.
And then this tells you a little bit about the story, but let's talk about this. Oh, you actually have a preview here. That's really cool for people interested in this. Oh, this looks familiar. Remember when we went over this in 2019, and now look at this. You're another issue in.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the tiers. So tell me about the tiers. You have different versions here.
Yeah, so we have a digital PDF for people who want to pick up, issue 3 as a PDF. We also have a PDF bundle. So, if you don't want to collect the single issues, or you're just more of a digital reader, we have those options for people. And then issue 3 starts at $10. So if people who've picked up the first 2 issues and you want to get issue 3, it's just $10, and you also get the PDF with it as well. So yeah, there's the digital PDF bundle for $15, and then as we keep going, there's different prices for the different variant covers. So I'm not going to be printing, all these different alternate covers. I'm only going to be printing, maybe 50, maybe 75, not very many at all. So they're going to be really rare. So the Steve Epting cover, if you want to get that, there's not going to be very many made whatsoever. So if you want that cover, definitely secure it, because I'm sure it's going to sell out pretty quickly.
And there is the retailer bundle. So in case you want to order this through your retailer, your local comic book store, you can let them know they can order the Manchild comics through the Kickstarter. Because
that's right. Yeah.
This is a discounted bundle deal for retailers that order more than one copy. And you have the collector's edition. What is this? PDF, cover A physical, sadistic 6 art print, and your name in the book, which I know a lot of people really enjoy seeing their names in books. And this is collector's edition variant and original inked character sketch right there. And that is by the series artist. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So Jay Mazar, he will draw a character from Manchild for you. Or if you have an established character that you want him to draw, he will draw. He'll do an ink sketch for you as well. So all of them are very clean. They look amazing.
Tell me about this one here. Draw into the book.
Yes. So have you ever wanted to be immortalized into a comic book? Well, this is your chance. You can do that with this issue. And we've done this with the previous 2 issues as well, but we will put your likeness into the story. So, if you want to be, someone browsing the comic book store shelves in this issue, or you want to be, at this parade that's in this issue, we can put you in there. So if you want to be in the comic, you can be in the comic. So it's really exciting.
That's so cool, man. And then the original art, and then of course the add-ons. Okay.
Yeah. And we have a lot of great other covers, for people who want to pick up issues 1 and 2. I got to work with Jim Rugg for issue 2. I got to work, from Cartoonist Kayfabe. I got to work with Marco Rudy, who worked on the Winter Soldier series with L.S. Cott, and who's done some really amazing stuff at DC with Scott Snyder on Swamp Thing. There's a lot of different cover options and variant cover options for people if they have missed out on the first 2 issues and you want to get like a collector's cover.
And they're all right here. And then, of course, the different covers and the Fabled Offering and Lifeline, which was an excellent book, by the way.
Thank you.
And then these are the add-ons. The stretch goals.
Yeah, stretch goals. So if we hit 6,000, we'll unlock the Sadistic 6 trading card set. So every backer will get a trading card set of these characters. So that's really exciting. If you love, like some of the older like Marvel trading card sets, or you're into like TCG games or Magic or whatever, we kind of have something for all the backers. So if we hit this, every backer gets this set, which is really exciting.
Awesome. And we got a couple more. The sticker set and
Yes.
your T-shirt.
Yeah. So if we hit 10,000, you'll be able to get a Manchild T-shirt, and you'll have the Monarch Crier logo on the chest, and then on the back, it'll say "I am a Manchild." So if you wanna walk around with that, I think that'd be really fun.
I mean, even if you don't read comics, I think that's a pretty cool shirt.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then the funding, not a lot of people do this, like breaking down exactly how much it costs to print and ship, and then the production costs too. So this is really interesting that you're breaking it down. A lot of people, are like,
yeah, some people.
I get it.
They don't want to I guess pull the curtain. But I think it's really important to be transparent with your backers. I think it's really important to let people know where their money is going. This campaign, all of my campaigns, this is my 7th Kickstarter campaign, and all of them have always been to make the book and to ship the book to backers. It's never been about, getting money or trying to do this, huge thing. I only care about making the book and paying the artists and making the best book that we can possibly make. And so I feel like showing that to people and letting people know where the money's going is really important. But yeah, then there's us. So like I said, that's us, it's me, Nandor, and then we got Jay and then DC Hopkins. And we're making this book for you guys. And we've been working on this series for quite a while, So making comics isn't easy. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of energy. And, we're not going anywhere. We're sticking to it, and we're going to try to finish the series as soon as possible.
All right. Let me remove that. And thank you, man, for going through the entire thing with us and for talking a little bit about the book and the behind the scenes and catching up with what you've been up to and reading. That's really cool. So what is the name of your channel again, so people can follow you there?
Yeah. So my imprint, and I started doing this with Seasons Volume 2, but I made my own business, my own imprint, and it's Foxhole Comics. So you can find that on YouTube. And my middle name's Fox, and so I thought it'd be great. And I always introduce my videos welcome to the Foxhole. This is Foxhole Comics, and we're making comics over here, and we're trying to make some really quality stuff. So you can find me there. I also have a Substack. I have a newsletter that I try to frequent as much as possible and let people know what I'm up to. So if people want to keep up to date with me on the projects that I'm working on and things that I'm doing, you can find me Foxhole Comics or foxholecomics.substack.com. You can find me there too. But yeah, so if you look up Foxhole Comics, if you Google Foxhole Comics, my name will pop up, or my comics will pop up. I also have a Gumroad online store where people can, purchase my stuff. But I really encourage everyone, if you're interested in what I'm making, if you're interested in what I'm doing, look at the Kickstarter, because you can get all my previous books on there. I don't have Seasons on there because I've actually sold out of my hardcovers for Seasons, and I'm going to be doing. Cool. Yeah. It's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah, man, I think that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm going to be doing a campaign for the trade paperback editions of volumes 1 and 2 early next year is my plan for that, so that we can get those trades out. And then as we get to volume 3, people will be caught up, people will be ready for volume 3, and we can do a hardcover of volume 3 as well as a trade edition of it. And people can, add that to their collection and make their bookshelf, look nice, as all too well, of how important that is. So I'm excited to continue that series too. So yeah, there's a lot of things in the pipeline for next year. And if you follow, me on Substack or my YouTube channel, those are the best places to kind of see what I'm up to.
and there's a link to his Substack, and I've got the link to the Kickstarter. And yeah, go and check out this particular Kickstarter. Go and check out the art. Go and check out the different tiers. Go and see that beautiful Steve Epting piece right there. I gotta ask, man, like when it comes to hiring somebody like Steve Epting and getting a piece like that, this is Steve Epting, somebody you love, so you can tell me, did you get to keep the original art?
Well, so he's primarily all digital now.
Gosh dang it, Steve Epting!
I know. I felt the same. Yeah, I felt the same exact way. But no, like as far as I know, he really transitioned over to digital probably in the last, I don't know, 5 years or so. You know, if you look at his book Sarah, I think with TKO Studios, I think that was all digital.
I didn't realize that. That's crazy, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's really mastered it too. I mean, you can still see the Epting DNA in his work. I mean, you know, anything he does, you can see that. But I know he still does commissions. I know he still works traditionally. But
most of the things that he does is now digital. I can understand. I figured that would be something really cool. Man, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a long time. Let's not take too long next time. Whenever you get your season's Kickstarter going, since they're collected editions, you know, I'll be more than happy to help. All you got to do is just reach out, brother. You know.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be really cool because we're gonna have a lot of great like different covers for people for both volumes 1 and 2, and then you know at the end of all of seasons, by the time we get to the end of volume 4, you know I'm gonna be doing that omnibus. You know, we're gonna do like a 4 or 500 page omnibus. So that's gonna be crazy.
That's awesome. Well, everybody go and check out the Kickstarter that's going on right now. There is a link in the description of the video in case you're watching it later. In case you're watching it now and just joining now, click on that link. And if you want to keep up with Nandor, there is the Substack right there, the link to his Substack. And thank you, James, for posting it. And look, David's already backed it. So thank you for that, David.
Heck yeah, David. Thank you.
But that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you again to Nandor Shaffer for joining us today. And have a wonderful day, everybody.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Omar.
Absolutely, brother.